Thank you for joining me. I hope you're having a successful day so far. Today I will be showing you how I prepare beef heart and how I cut it up and how I'm going to bag it up for my meal prep. I know a lot of people have raised eyebrows when I say beef heart. People may say, ew, how could you eat that? Listen, don't knock it until you try it. It's one of the leanest cuts of beef that you can get. What I'm going to do for you today is show you how it looks, and what I'm going to do is put it into baggies after I cut it into strips so I can use it for my meal prep. Remember, do not knock this unless you try it. I will have more information on the nutritional benefits of a beef heart listed in the blog post posted in the link description box. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alrighty, here we are with the infamous beef heart. I got this from my local deli, which is Pottstown Meats and Deli, and for a fair price of $8.74 you can get this. Now we're going to go ahead and open it up, and I would suggest opening up in your sink. That way you won't have a big bloody mess. Here we go. Oh, look at this. And what I like to do, I just rinse all my meat off. Now there is a funny smell to this, but it's perfectly fine in my experience. So I just rinse it all off. Again, just like you would do any cut of meat, whether it's chicken or beef, I rinse all of my meat. So for those of you guys who are preparing food without rinsing it, I would suggest you start doing it. Alright, once this is all rinsed off, I'm going to bring it over to my cutting board. Alright, I have my area cleaned off, and I have a cutting board, and I have my knife, and I have some baggies. So what I'm going to do is trim some of this fat off of here, and I'm just going to cut mine into strips and put in the baggies and put it in the freezer. So once I'm ready for it, I can put it in the skillet and cook it and have it whenever I'm ready. So what I do is get a sharp knife, and this is a pretty thick layer of fat. If you have cut a beef roast or whole roast like I'm normally do, it's about the same thickness, this fat. And you see how it is right here? And that's all it is. I don't know why people are so grossed out, eat just about everything. At least I know what I'm eating, versus, you know, we go to these fast food places or these restaurants, and then, you know, they're saying, hey, this is what you're eating. Do you really honestly know? Unless you really kill it yourself or grow it, you honestly never know what you are eating. But we're just going to trim some of this fat off of here and just get a good slice. And I just throw it out. Now, people may wonder, okay, what made you want to start eating this type of meat? Well, to be honest, what I can remember is I was looking to gain strength while working out, lifting weights. As you know, I dropped a lot of weight, and I spent maybe this past year just trying to increase my strength in a natural way. I didn't want to take any powders or any of these supplements that I see so many people taking. Now, I'm not against you if you are taking it, but it's hard to say this, and, you know, forgive me for saying if I offend you, but, you know, if strength is not into your genetics, then it's just not in your genetics. And if you're taking these powders and all this stuff, it's going to catch up with you eventually. In my younger days, I would take a lot of, you know, protein powders. I took the nitro tech and all that kind of stuff at one point in time, and I believe that it did play a factor into my high blood pressure on top of me being overweight. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and blame that solely on it, but your kidneys can only filter out so much. And at least for me, in my isolated situation, that's what it was. So just with that being said, I've always been kind of standoffish to powders and pre-workouts and everything like that. So I've just always tried to find a more natural route. So one day I just decided that since we eat certain things off of animals and it gives us certain types of strength or increased proteins or whatever you want to call it, I said, well, let's just go to the source. Let's go to the source. Let's see what consuming the actual heart will actually do. And you know what? I don't know if it's one of those things what they would call a placebo, if you just think you're getting stronger after eating it, but I would say, at least for me, it actually, you know, it worked. I saw some increase, what everybody call gains, you know, in the gym. Just my sets became a little bit more easier to get up. Now this is still a lot of fat on here, and so we're going to get as much off as possible. But going more back into the story, yeah, I just started researching it and I just went ahead and went for it. With that being said, I've been eating it ever since. So maybe about a total, probably about 8 or 9 months, and I haven't had one in a while. I had been juicing and just being on all liquids for probably about the past, maybe about a month. And you know, when I kind of come off my fast, you know, I have a craving for actual meat. And I said, well, what better way to do this? But even kind of taking it further back, if any of you guys have ever heard of or researched beef bone broth or actual bone broth, it's very good for you. And I had been making that as well. Matter of fact, I had been making that before I started eating beef hearts. And what actual bone broth does is actually boils the nutrients out of the actual bone of the whatever animal that, you know, you pick. You can get your bones from your local butcher, and you just pretty much put it in the crock pot along with seasons and vegetables, and you just cook it down for a day or so, and then it just extracts all the nutrients from the bone and the bone marrow, and you just drink it as a soup, or you can just, you know, use it as broth for any soups. And that's just been my quest to try to find a way to get stronger naturally. Now, you can do whatever you feel. You may have a lot of research and, you know, a lot of science, or, you know, been Googling about what to have and all that other kind of stuff, macros, calories, and, you know, all that. Listen, that's all fine and dandy. You know, I don't really pay attention to too much of it at this point in time, because I know what works for me, and I'm not saying that if you do your research and all that other stuff that wouldn't work. I'm just letting you know what works for me and what's easier for me. I believe the health industry, or, you know, we have access to so many people on YouTube, Google, is that everybody's putting a little bit too much science. Let me rephrase that. People are just making things a lot more difficult than what they really are. You know, you find something and, you know, if it's healthy for you, then go for it. You know, and that's just pretty much my belief in it. You know, that's why people can be intimidated by losing weight, because, you know, people have made such a big deal out of the simplest things. Listen, you just cut the sugars out, you cut the yeast, you cut the fat, you exercise, drink a lot of water, drink juices, your fresh pressed juices, you know, get some healthy smoothie recipes, lots of greens, get a lot of sleep, work hard in the gym. Pretty much it. You know, everything else in between, you know, that's all on you if you want to believe everything everybody says, and that's up to you to do your own research. All right, so I did enough talking. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut this. I need a sharper knife. And here we go. That's like 1/2 of his heart. And look at that. It almost looks like a liver. And there's a membrane in there, but it's not chewy when you cook it. It's not chewy at all. Now you see we got some extra fat over here. It's not gonna hurt. So what I do is just cut it into strips as thin as I can. Now again, if any of you have ever cut a roast and trimmed the fat off of there, it's about the same consistency. Look at that. I know some of you guys may be grossed out, but I guarantee you dealt with other cuts of meat. This is just different for you. I got a feeling I might get flagged on my video for this. Now, again, I just cut it. I need some new knives. I gotta stop being cheap and invest in some actual cookware. Alright. Now I've had a sharper knife at one point in time. I was able to cut these into some steaks and put them on the grill. But I didn't want to go that route today. I actually just wanted to cut it into strips. So when I'm ready for it, I can just throw it in the skillet, you know, cook it up, and just eat it like that. Now, what I do is, I do like Chipotle steak bowl, and maybe I will make a video or shoot a video on how I make my own makeshift Chipotle steak bowl. Everything's pretty much simple in that, you know, rice, beans, green peppers, onions. Even I know how to make my own pico and guacamole. And you know, maybe I will do that one day for you guys. Okay, so now that I have my beef heart cut into strips, thin as I possibly can at the moment, you know, now I just try to cut it as thin as possible. As you can see, I sharpened my knife a little bit, which I pretty much should have did it before I actually started the big cut, but now I actually got to be careful. But see, cut into strips, just like that, and I'm going to put it in the bags, that part in half, and just cut in the strips. Now let's say if you actually want to make beef stew, you know, just cut into chunks like so. You know, there you go. You know, you can pretty much make this into what you want to make it. It's just beef. It's not anything out of the ordinary far as the ability of what this, you know, meat can cook itself into. You know, you can make it into whatever you want to make it into. Okay, so now I have all my beef hearts into strips into a bowl. So what I'm going to do now is get a Ziploc bag or freezer bag and just bag and tag it. So just put it in a sack, and now I don't weigh it out or have a scale. Actually, I don't have a scale where, you know, you measure out the or weigh out the, you know, ounce sizes per servings. I'm actually really thinking about getting that. I want to start disciplining myself a lot more on my portion sizes because I believe that will help out. But for right now, you know, we're just bag and tagging. Now what I have done before is have some fresh herbs like rosemary or thyme or sage, and actually just set it in my freezer bag. And you know, if I know I'm going to be cooking it within the next day or so, you know, just set it in there with, you know, your seasonings, you know, some kosher salt, you know, pepper, and just let it marinate in there, and then cook it the next day or so. Or even if you just want to keep it in the freezer like that, the only thing it's going to do is just infuse the meat with the seasonings, and it turns out perfectly. Alrighty, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I'm going to do now is just date these. I have a habit of dating my product, what I put in the freezer, just so, you know, I have a general idea of how long stuff's been in there. But that's all there is to it. You can just take these out when you're ready, and just like any form of beef that you use, you can put it in the skillet, you can bake it, you can put it in your crock pot, you know, put it in, you know, as far as with your soups or whatever you want to do. You know, you can make anything out of these, you know, beef and rice, or beef and noodles, or whatever you pretty much normally use any beef strips for. This is just a different cut of beef. Once again, if you want to know any additional information on the nutritional benefits of a beef heart, I will have it listed in my link description below, and it'll take you right to my website, christiansweightsuccess.net, and it will explain to you as much nutritional information that I have personally found upon this. There you have it. That's how I cut and prepare the beef heart for my meal prep. I hope you weren't too grossed out. Once again, it's just beef. You eat hamburger, you may eat steak, it's no different. It's just a different cut of the actual beef. I want to thank you for taking time out to watch this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, and please share it on all your social media sites. Remember to speak positivity into your life every day, and speak positivity into someone else's life every day. It's each one teach one. Spread love, not war. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you haven't done it already, please subscribe to christiansweightsuccess.net. Thank you, and have a successful day. Hello, I'm Christian Evans. I lost nearly 200 pounds. I have a program for you to be successful at losing weight like I did. It's called the Christian's Weight Success Starter Program. Direct message me to learn more.